Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala in the subject of Information Technology for the paper Mobile Computing. Our today's lecture is about electromagnetic waves. In the previous module, we have learnt about the mobile computing, introduction of mobile computing technology. We learned that what type of environment we will call a mobile computing environment, what are the entities which make up the mobile computing environment, what are the security threats in a mobile computing environment, and so on. In the second module, we started with the wireless communication, physics of wireless communication, and we said that electromagnetic waves are the principal components which help in communication from transmitter to receiver, whether in the form of wired communication or in the form of wireless communication. The concept of electromagnetic waves we brushed quickly in the previous modules, and we just stated the various parameters of electromagnetic waves. In this module, we will learn about the electromagnetic waves much in detail. So, to start with this module, what are electromagnetic waves? So, in the previous module, we have said that electromagnetic waves is a form of energy which is used to communicate some data, whether it is in the form of a voice, image, multimedia, from the transmitter to the receiver. Now, what are electromagnetic waves and why they are called so? When the electrons travel either in a guided media, that is a copper wire or a twisted pair or a optical fiber, or a free space, that is a wireless medium, these electrons follow a specific wave-like pattern. Okay. Now, they have got both electrical as well as magnetic field associated with them. Therefore, the names of these waves has been given as electromagnetic waves. This phenomena was first predicted to exist by James Maxwell in 1865, and it was first produced by Hertz in 1887. All of these waves vary with time in direction and intensity. They move with the speed of light in vacuum, whereas the speed decreases when they enter the air or the atmosphere or different materials. These waves move through vacuum. They do not need any medium to travel as the mechanical waves which need a medium to travel. Examples of electromagnetic wave which we see in our day-to-day life is the first and the most important example is by which you are able to see me, with the help of which you are able to see the outer world and everything, that is the light. Another example is your voice, that is a voice travel in the form of electromagnetic waves. Another example is your radio waves, with the help of which you are able to talk on your phone. Another example is the satellite communication based on the microwaves, by which you are able to see your TV program and so on. So, we all are experiencing electromagnetic waves everywhere around us. The electromagnetic waves can be represented as function of time or function of frequency. Okay. So, you can see the examples of two waves. In the first, on the x axis there is time, and on the y axis there is amplitude, and you can see that this wave is going like this. What does it mean? It means that suppose if I am representing voice on this scale, it says that the amplitude of the voice is going on like this with time. Okay. So, I can say that at this point of time I spoke amplitude. When you talk about amplitude and you are talking about voice, it means that the pitch with which you are talking. So, here you talked in a very soft and slow voice, then here the amplitude increased. Again at this point of time it is low. Again here the amplitude is more. You can see the modulations in my voice. I am modulating my voice according to the amplitude. Again it is less. This is the highest amplitude with what I am talking, and this is the lowest. So, you can observe that my voice has changed its amplitude along with time. The another representation of electromagnetic wave is as a function of frequency. So, here on the x axis there is frequency and on the y axis there is amplitude. So, if I want to express frequency, this states that at these frequencies the amplitude was highest, and as the frequency got increased, the amplitude decreases. Again, if I want to give you the example of frequency, when I speaking faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and faster, the frequency is getting increased, the amplitude is decreasing. Okay. Now, the waves can be of two forms, periodic waves or aperiodic waves. As the name itself indicates that periodic means something which is repeating itself, whereas aperiodic does not repeat itself. This thing is clear in the two examples. In the first form, you can see that these are the periodic waves, they repeat themselves over the time, that is after this time the wave is repeating itself, again after this time the wave is repeating itself, and so on, and this time is known as time period of the wave. Whereas, if you look at this wave, you can see that this wave is not repeating itself with time. Okay. There is a random pattern in this wave. These type of waves are known as aperiodic waves. If you look at this wave and if you just go across some of the physics or the maths which you studied in your 10th and 12th standard, you will find this figure very familiar. Yes, this is a sine wave. So, we can call the periodic waves as the sinusoidal waves. The mathematical representation of this wave is a sine 2 pi f t plus phi, where f is the frequency. The variables in this equation are a, f, t and phi. A is the amplitude, which I just said that it is the strength of the signal or the highest peak value. This is the highest peak value. Okay. F is the frequency. We will just talk about these parameters more in the coming sections. Then T is the time period and phi is the phase. We will see that what is meant by these parameters. The first parameter which we will be discussing is the amplitude. Amplitude means strength of a wave. When I talk about light, if I am saying amplitude, I am saying that the brightness of the light represents amplitude. So, if I talk about a bulb, a 50 watt bulb will have a less amplitude than a 100 watt bulb. If I am talking about my voice, the amplitude means the loudness of the voice or the strength of my voice. If I am talking about the radio waves or the transmission waves, the strength means the how much properly or how much power the signal is being carried from the sender to the receiver. And we know that to discern a particular electromagnetic wave, to interpret what it is carrying, the power of the wave should be up to a particular level. Below it, it will be detected as noise. Nothing can be interpreted from that particular wave. So, what is amplitude? It is a maximum value or the strength of the signal over time. The unit is volts. So, here what I am doing is that the parameters of the electromagnetic waves which I am explaining, I have taken the example of analog electromagnetic waves only, and then you can convert it to the discrete signal. So, here all the parameters I will be explaining as analog waves only. So, in this figure I have explained or I have depicted different electromagnetic waves with different amplitudes. So, what is expressed on the y axis? From this x axis, here the amplitude is positive and down the amplitude is negative. Okay. So, you can see here that for this particular wave, the blue wave, A is equal to 1, here A is equal to 2, then again A is equal to 3 volts, and this green wave, the symbolical representation or the color, these all waves are color coded so that you can understand. So, this green wave has got amplitude down, okay, which is the negative scale. So, here the amplitude is equal to -1. For the cyan wave, you can see that the amplitude is somewhere between 0 and 1. So, I can say that is 0.5, and for the yellow it is -2. So, I hope that from this figure it must be very clear that what is meant by amplitude. The next parameter is frequency. What is the literal meaning of frequency? Frequency means that how often a thing is repeating. Okay. So, suppose I tell you that you stand on the road and count that how often a four-wheeler comes across this road. So, what will be the first question you will ask me? You will ask me that how often means what? I have to count that how many vehicles cross in 1 hour, or I have to count that in 5 hours, or how many I have to count in the whole day, that is 24 hours. This is also what is the important thing when I talk about frequency. Frequency, the literal meaning is rate of change. Rate of change means something which is repeating itself over some particular time, which is known as time period. So, if I say that in 1 hour four-wheelers are crossing the road, I can say that the frequency of four-wheelers is 4. And if I say that now here I have to keep the time same. If I am saying that in 1 hour 8 four-wheelers are crossing this road, then I can say that here the frequency of four-wheelers is double than previous. The same concept applies for the electromagnetic waves also, and here also you have to keep in mind that when you are talking about frequency, you have to look at a particular time over which I can say that okay, this is the frequency of repetition. And why I am talking about repetition? Because we are now talking about the periodic waves, and the periodic waves repeats themselves over the time. So, you can see in the diagram of frequency here. So, different waves again they have been color coded and they have been depicted in different frequency. So, how do I define frequency for a EM wave? Number of cycles per unit time. The unit is hertz. It has been named after the scientist who discovered it. Okay. And the amount of time taken to complete one cycle. One cycle is one particular pattern of a wave. Okay. So, the amount of time taken is known as the time period. Let us see this diagram. Okay. Say suppose I talk about the time period till here, right. Now, if I talk about the blue color coded wave, just count that how many cycles. See, I want to know the number of cycles up to this particular time for all these waves. So, let us count the number of cycles for the blue wave. So, this is 1, 2 and 3. Okay. So, frequency is 3, and how much time it took to complete one cycle. So, one cycle is completed here, and this whole time is 6. So, the total time to complete one cycle is 1/3. Okay. Similarly, look at the wave color coded in magenta. You can see here that at this time the magenta wave has completed one complete cycle. So, the frequency is 1. For the orange wave, 1 and 2. The orange wave has completed. So, up to this time scale the orange wave has completed 2 complete cycles, hence the frequency is 2 and time is equal to 1/2, that is 0.5. For the green wave, now see, look here, it has got a very low frequency. So, at this time only half part of the complete cycle, the cycle gets completed here. So, at this time period only half part of the cycle has been completed. Therefore, the frequency is 0.5. I mean I think the two things have overlapped. So, here second t is equal to 1 by 2 second, f is equal to 0.5 and t is equal to 2 seconds. So, can I say from this diagram that frequency and time period are inversely proportional to each other, or time period is equal to 1 by f or f is equal to 1 by t. So, if you know the time period of a wave, you can calculate the frequency. If the frequency is known, you can calculate the time period, because they are just reciprocals of each other. The next parameter which we will be discussing is the phase. Okay. Now, what is phase? The phase is it is a shift from the origin. Origin of the wave is here. So, how much the wave has been shifted? The wave can be shifted towards the right or it can be shifted towards the left. Now, this shift is measured in the form of angles. The unit of the angle is in the radians or in degrees, and the symbol which is used to represent phase is phi. So, look at these 4 diagrams. Now, here the wave is starting from here only. Okay. So, the cycle gets completed here. This is origin. So, no shift is there. So, phase is 0. Just look at this wave. This wave has completely shifted this side. Okay. It is starting here. So, the origin is from this point. Okay. So, you can see that it is like this. So, the shift, how do you measure the shift? Here it is 0 degree. At this point where the 1/4 part of the wave has taken place, this is 90 degree, this is 180 degree, then this is minus 90 and this is 2 pi. Okay. So, here what you can see is that the wave is shifted, this part has been shifted left. Okay. So, whenever the wave shifts left, I say that this is a positive angle. Okay. So, wave has shifted left, this angle, how much did I say here? Pi, that is 180 degree. Therefore, the phase shift is 180 degree. This wave has shifted towards the right. So, instead of the starting point should have been here, but the starting point is here, and this much part I said that it is 90 degree, it has shifted towards the right, hence the phase shift is minus 90. Similarly, here 1/4 part it has shifted towards the left, so the angle is plus 90 degree. So, you can see the phase shifts of 0 degree, 180 degree, 90 degree and minus 90 degree in these 4 diagrams. The next parameter which we will be discussing is the wavelength. Now, what do you mean by wavelength? The wavelength is the distance between the 2 peak values of a particular wave. So, as I said that the 2 peak values represent the amplitude, if I measure the distance between these 2 peak values, it is known as wavelength. It is represented by a symbol lambda, and the unit is, since it is the distance, the unit will be the unit of distance. Just look at the diagram, you will notice a very interesting thing. Okay. Before I talk about the definition of wavelength, look at these 3 diagrams. What do you notice in these 3 diagrams? You just notice that a parameter which you just discussed is increasing in this way. Okay. So, if I talk about this particular time, okay. So, this wave has completed 1 cycle, this wave has completed 1, 2, 3 cycles, whereas this wave has completed more cycles. So, if I talk about this complete time as 1 second, and if I talk say that this is time period, the upper wave has completed 1, 2, 3 and 4 cycles, this has completed 8 cycles and this wave has completed 16 cycles. And what did I say the number of cycles? The number of cycles is known as frequency. So, for this wave the frequency is 4, for this it is 8 and 16. Now, come to the definition of wavelength, the distance between 2 peak values, or I can say that the distance covered by 1 cycle. Now, just observe one thing in these 3 diagrams. as the frequency is increasing, the distance between these two peak values is getting decreased. Yes, so here the distance is this, the frequency is 4. For frequency equal to 8, this distance has increased, and for frequency equal to 16, this distance has decreased further. So, what do I conclude? I conclude that from this diagram, I conclude that the wavelength is inversely proportional to frequency. Okay. So, when two things are inversely proportional to each other, we can always relate them by a constant. So, if I represent nu as the symbol of frequency, lambda as the symbol of wavelength, lambda is inversely proportional to nu, or nu is inversely proportional to lambda, or I can say that nu lambda is equal to constant, and this constant is nothing but the speed of electromagnetic waves in vacuum, and it is equal to the speed of light, which is equal to 3 into 10 raised to power 8 meters per second. So, c is constant. So, what I can do is that if the wavelength is known to me, I can always calculate the frequency, and if the frequency is known to me, I can always calculate the wavelength. They both are inversely proportional to each other. For the waves for which the frequency is higher, the wavelength will be low, and for the waves for which the wavelength is high, the frequency will be low. The next parameter of electromagnetic wave is the spectrum. What do you mean by spectrum? Spectrum is the range of frequencies which comprises a signal. We will learn more about a signal, but actually when I talk about a signal, it is not made up of a single frequency waves. It is made up of many waves of different frequencies, and all these frequencies comprises a signal which travels from transmitter to receiver. So, the range of all these frequencies, or the combination of all these frequencies, is known as spectrum. And what is the bandwidth? The range, that is the maximum frequency minus the minimum frequency, is known as bandwidth. So, what is the spectrum and bandwidth in this figure? In this figure, the frequency is ranging from 0.5 to 3. So, the spectrum is 3, 1, 2 and 0.5, all the frequencies. So, all the frequencies have been incorporated here, but the bandwidth is 3 minus 0.5, that is 2.5 hertz. Okay. So, here just we are believing that these the unit of frequency here is hertz. Now, we have talked about the 4 parameters: amplitude, frequency, wavelength and phase, and we have also seen that an electromagnetic wave can be represented as a function of time or as a function of frequency. Now, which parameter is helpful, or we should talk about the electromagnetic waves in which perspective? Either the time perspective is important or the frequency perspective is important. From now onwards, when I am talking about the electromagnetic waves, I will be talking about the electromagnetic waves which are used in communication. So, here the frequency perspective is important. How? I am saying that at 98.3 FM, Radio Mirchi is there. Okay. So, if I want to hear Radio Mirchi, I have to tune myself on or I have to tune my radio on 98.3 FM. Right. Now, there are so many things in my surroundings which are functioning at the same time, yet their signals are not interfering with each other. Why it is happening so? Because they are operating on different frequencies. So, from here, when I will be talking about signals, when we will be talking about electromagnetic waves for communication, we will be talking in the perspective of frequency and wavelength only. Now, these electromagnetic waves, as I said that now we can divide them on the basis of, we are talking about frequency perspective only. So, we can divide them on the basis of frequency and wavelength, and the whole what is the spectrum? The whole range of frequencies. So, the whole range of frequencies over which the electromagnetic waves exist is known as the electromagnetic spectrum. Okay. So, what is electromagnetic spectrum? electromagnetic radiation is transmitted in waves or particles at different wavelengths and frequencies. This range of wavelengths is known as electromagnetic spectrum. It is divided into 7 regions in the order of decreasing wavelength and increasing energy and frequency. So, the common 7 regions or the 7 bands are radio waves, microwaves, infrared waves, visible light, ultraviolet waves, X-rays and gamma rays. Now, the point to note here is that these 7 bands, actually you cannot have a clear cut partition or a clear cut discrimination between these bands. I cannot say that okay, this is the radio waves, here the radio wave finishes and here the microwave starts. It is not so. All the bands of electromagnetic spectrum actually blends with each other. So, you can just have a look at the electromagnetic spectrum diagram. You can see here that at the extreme end are the gamma rays of extremely high frequencies, and at the other end there are radio waves with extremely low and frequency and extremely high wavelengths. The wavelength of radio waves are of the order of kilometers. They are of a size of mountains. So, you can see in that diagram that as you are moving from gamma rays to radio waves, the frequency is decreasing. Now, I am very sure that by looking at these diagrams, you can clearly say that what a parameter of the electromagnetic wave it is representing. Of course, it is representing the frequency. The frequency is highest for the gamma rays and it is lowest for the radio waves. And so, here the wavelength is highest for the radio waves and it is lowest for the gamma rays. The energy of any electromagnetic wave is directly proportional to frequency. So, higher the frequency, higher the energy. So, the energy of gamma rays is maximum and the energy of radio waves is minimum. Now, let us have the precise band or the precise values of frequencies and wavelength by which these bands can be represented. But again a word of caution that these wavelength and these frequencies by which the bands are represented are not clear cut discrimination, they are just representative values. Actually the different bands blend with each other. So, this table represents the 7 bands, the wavelength, frequency and the energy. So, you can see that the wavelength of gamma rays is of the order of nanometers and the frequency, my God, it is more than terahertz, petahertz and a high frequency. Okay. And the energy is of the order of 300 giga electrovolt. Let us just look at the other side, radio waves, 1 millimeter to 1 kilometer wavelength, frequency is only up to 3 hertz to 300 gigahertz and energy is very low. You can just go through this table. Now, as we have just seen that the spectrum ranges from very low frequency to very high frequency, okay, but not all the part of this spectrum is suitable for communication. At very low frequencies they get attenuated very easily. The high frequencies it is harmful for human beings. So, the middle part of the spectrum is used for communication. So, only the 4 bands of electromagnetic spectrum are used for communication. These 4 bands are radio waves, microwaves, infrared and visible. Actually again as I said that there is no clear cut definition between the radio waves and the microwaves. So, radio waves and the microwaves together we call a radio spectrum and the infrared and visible together we can call the optical spectrum. So, only this much part of the electromagnetic spectrum is suitable for communication. Now, let us look at these bands and their features one by one. First, let us start with radio waves and we will see that what makes the radio waves appropriate for wireless communication and what are the technologies which uses radio waves for communication. This is the lowest frequency portion of the electromagnetic spectrum, and the wavelength you can see that it is of the order of millimeter to 100 kilometers, and the frequency just starting from 3 kilohertz to 300 kilohertz. More the wavelength, more distance they can travel. So, they can travel long distances. They can also follow the earth's surface, as we have just seen in the ground waves. We will just see them in the next module, what are ground waves and why they follow the earth's surface. At higher wavelengths or more higher wavelengths, they can also travel under the water and making them suitable for submarine communication. They have different penetration through the walls of the buildings or houses based on the frequencies, making it appropriate for radio and television transmission and for cellular mobile phones and service, useful for both indoor and outdoor communication. Another next set of features of radio waves, they are able to bounce off the atmosphere and then they can travel around the world. This feature we will discuss more in detail in the next module. They are easy to generate. How the radio waves are generated? By just passing the electric current through a wire. The radio waves can be generated. This will create both the electric field and the magnetic field perpendicular to each other, and this is what the electromagnetic waves are. The antenna size for the radio waves are in the range of millimeters to meters, which is feasible to make because the antenna size are proportional to the wavelength. They have same velocity in vacuum. They are omnidirectional. What do you mean by omnidirectional? The transmission is spreading out from the transmitter, that is spreading out in all the directions, due to which the radio waves can be used for propagating in all the directions. But the problem is that the omnidirectional behavior will make these waves to interfere with the nearby devices. Due to the omnidirectional behavior, they are used for multicasting. That is, multicasting means there is one sender and many receiver, as in the case of radio, television, maritime radio, cordless phones, paging, etc. But the thing is that you cannot have the same behavior of radio waves every time. The behavior depends on frequency. And the cons of the radio waves, so these are the good points why the radio waves are used for communication. Now, these are the points due to which the radio waves are harmful or they have the adverse effect on communication. The first point is that they have adverse effect on human health, the flora and fauna, the insects, everybody. Then the areas where the towers have been placed, more lightning is probable to occur in those particular areas. It will attract the lightning. Okay. It also affects the vegetation or the fruits which are grown in the nearby areas. And the most important thing is that since they are available both in line of sight and non-line of sight regions, it can be easily intruded by the hackers because the radiation can penetrate through the walls, and due to the omnidirectional behavior they are spreading outwards. So, anybody can take the signals and they can be intruded by the hackers. Let us move to the next band, that is the microwaves, and we just saw when we discussed the spectrum was that the microwaves have got the higher frequencies than the radio waves. Now, what is the advantage of using higher frequency waves? Higher the frequency, higher the data rate, because we are putting data on the waves, and a frequency represents one particular cycle. If I talk about a square wave, then one particular bit can be placed on one particular part of the cycle. More the frequency means more the cycles, so more bits I can put or more data I can put on those waves. So, higher the frequency, higher data it can carry. Higher the frequency, large amount of information can be transmitted, but more circuitry or more specific meticulous circuitry is required at the receiving end. The antenna size is inversely proportional to wavelength. So, higher the frequency, lower the wavelengths. So, the antenna size for the microwave transmission is small. So, very big towers are not needed. The speed of microwave is faster so more reliable, less maintenance is required. It can travel short distances as compared to radio waves, right. It can travel to, yes, high frequency means it can travel through the atmospheric layers also. So, at very high frequencies of the order of gigahertz, the microwave can cross the atmospheric layers and they can reach a satellite overhead, and then they can come back to the ground station, hence making them suitable for satellite communication. But the major difference between the microwaves and the radio waves is the directionality. The radio waves are omnidirectional. At some higher frequencies, they can also have a line of sight, but the microwaves are strictly directional. They need a strict line of sight, and instead of omnidirectional antennas, directional antennas are used. So, what is the problem here? That if I want to propagate in all the directions, I have to install the directional antennas in all the directions, and due to the high frequency, it will be obstructed easily. More the frequency, more easily it gets obstructed by the objects. So, the next set of features of microwaves are that it needs line of sight transmission, that is, the signal has to be transmitted several times in different directions for the propagating signal. It gets obstructed easily, and at higher frequencies it can also be degraded by very small particles as the moisture in the atmosphere, the snow, rain, fog, and this phenomena is known as rain fed. At very high frequency it gets also absorbed by the precipitation. So, where there is moisture or precipitation or more rain is there, so in those areas radio waves are being used instead of microwaves. The two bands which we just discussed, that is the radio waves and the microwaves, they form the radio band. Okay. Now, what are the limitations of these radio waves or the radio communication? The first and most important thing is the availability. Now, the bandwidth is very limited, and there are so many devices, the internet is there, the mobile devices are increasing, and so it is very the scarcity of bandwidth is the main issue. At the same time, these radio communications work on licensed band. The third limitation is that they are harmful for people, and the fourth limitation is that is the data security. That is, since omnidirectional behavior is there, they can penetrate through the walls, and so they can be easily hacked. And the most important thing is that the radio communication, if one device is working, it can always interfere with the other devices which are having radio communication. Okay. So, due to these limitations, the new boom in the technology is moving towards the optical communication or the very high frequency part of the electromagnetic spectrum. The infrared band and the visible band both form the optical communication. So, we will learn about these bands one by one. So, let us see the infrared band. Features of infrared waves. What are infrared waves? The wavelength of infrared waves varies from 750 nanometers, the near infrared, to 1 millimeter. Have you ever wondered why it is known as infrared? Or just Google the dictionary meaning of infrared. So, I will just tell you. Infra means down, and red is for the color red. So, when I talk about the visible spectrum, it is made up of 7 colors: violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. And after that red band, the infrared start. That is why name the infrared, meaning down the red. Okay. Now, the frequencies range about 300 gigahertz to 400 terahertz. Infrared transmitting device, what are the devices which are used? The LEDs or the laser diodes can be used, and what they do is that they convert the electrical signal into the optical signal. The transmitting signal's intensity or the power is proportional to the modulating signal. The photodetector at the receiver produces an output current proportional to the received optical signal intensities. Now, the two main devices which are used for infrared wave communication are the LEDs and the laser diodes. The difference between these two are that the LEDs have got a wide transmission path and they are suitable for lens or the W lens, and also they are much safer, they do not have adverse effect. Whereas laser diode, they have got a narrow, they can be transmitted in the form of beams, okay, and hence they are suitable for point to point communication. A typical application is between building to building application. Infrared Data Association is a standard which was set up in 1993. It is an organization which was set up in 1993. The purpose of this organization was to develop standards for infrared communication, the hardware, the software, the communication protocols, everything, so as to use them as personal area network. Now, what is meant by Infrared Data Association? Personal area network means you can create your own network. Now, just imagine that you have got your SMS on your mobile phone, and this SMS you want to get printed on your printer. Okay. So, what you have to do is that your mobile phone and your printer should form a network. So, this network can be built with the help of infrared waves, but the only thing is that the range should be very small. So, the small wireless devices which you use at your home can be connected to each other via your infrared waves in the form of a network. Another application which I just discussed was the infrared, which uses infrared laser system and which can be used for long range communication. That is, the range can go up to 2.5 kilometers because the lasers can be sent up to a very long distance with a maximum projected data rate of 16 Mbps. It is very impressive. Point to point, that is line of sight systems, but the only thing is that the lasers can be diverted even by a wind or the air. They can be absorbed by fog, they can be absorbed by moisture and everything. You can just see in the diagram. The laser beams have been used to provide communication between the two buildings. So, there will be a laser beam on one side and the photoreceptor on the other side. The laser beam will transmit by modulating the signals in on-off patterns, and the photoreceptor will be sensitive to the infrared radiations, and it will again demodulate the optical signal into the electrical signal, which will be transmitted here. The another form in which the infrared waves can be used is in diffused form, which was proposed in IEEE 82.11 basic standard. Diffused means non-line of sight system, that is, the light will be spreaded outwards and hence it can be used for wireless LAN connectivity. The link between transmitter and receiver is maintained by bouncing the transmitting signals off reflecting surface such as walls and ceiling. What is done is that this is used for indoor systems. So, in indoors you have walls, you have ceilings. So, the transmitting signal is made to bounce on the wall, it will be reflected back, it will go to the ceiling, it will be reflected back, and this way by bouncing on and off it will go from sender to receiver. This has been specified, this type of WLAN has been, the specifications have been included in IEEE 82.11 standard. The infrared transmitters are usually directional, yes, high frequency, so they need to be directional, they are cheap, they are lightweight, reliable and easy to manufacture. An infrared system in one room of the building will not interfere with similar systems in nearby room. This is a major advantage over the radio waves. So, the possibility of eavesdropping is less as compared to the radio based system. It is more reliable alternative for WLANs, but the thing is that it gets easily obstructed. Even if you put your hand in the path of the infrared waves, it will be obstructed. The best example is what you use in your home, that is the television remote controls. So, if you put your hand in front of the television remote control, you will not able to operate the TV. So, the television is simply the infrared beam is projected from the remote and the photoreceptor is at the television set. So, both need precise line of sight, but it is harmful at high power levels and it cannot be used outside in day because it will interfere with sunlight. Now, let us move to the fourth band which is used for communication, that is the visible band, and the communication is known as visible light communication or VLC. VLC or visible light communication, it is at the highest frequency, and the another phrase which is used for VLC is Li-Fi or light fidelity. In 2011, Harold Hess from University of Edinburgh, in his TED talk, he proposed a very interesting experiment. He used two LED bulbs, and by using the two LED bulbs, he was able to transmit the video of a blooming flower from the transmitter to the receiver. This is what? This is the optical communication, that is, you are sending the data by modulating the data via on-off patterns of the optical device. The optical device can be a incandescent bulb, it can be a LED, it can be fluorescent lamps, anything. But the thing is that you have to switch on and off the optical device to send the data. When the optical device is on, you will say that you will be sending a 1, and when it is off, you will say that you are sending a 0. To increase the frequency, this on-off pattern should have to be very fast. So, incandescent bulbs and the fluorescent lamps, they cannot sustain to this fast on-off patterns, they will burst, they will burn. But the LED, the advent of LED, they can sustain, they can be made on and off very high, and in such a high frequency that we won't even realize. If you look at the LED which is made on and off in a very high speed, you won't even realize that it is on and off. You will just feel that it is on only, but actually it is getting on and off in a very high frequency rate, and hence high the frequency, high the data rate. Therefore, the range, the data rate of optical communication or the visible light communication is very high as compared to the radio waves. So, the simple phenomena is that the signals are sent by modulating them in on-off patterns to transmitter 0 and a 1, and a photoreceptor at the other end demodulates into data. We will learn more about this technology in detail in our last module. The Li-Fi technology we will be discussing in detail. The sources of light, as we just said, that they can be fluorescent bulbs, incandescent bulbs or LEDs, but they cannot sustain the quick switching on and off pattern, but LEDs can be fluctuated with high frequencies, and hence they are also known as green lightning resources. They have got an edge over other sources of VLC and are used in visible light communication. The advantages of visible light communication over radio: ultra high speed because very high frequency is there, high security because they cannot go across the walls, biologically friendly because they do not have health hazards, and all time availability. A bulb is available everywhere. You can just look at the diagram. Now, the ITU is responsible for allocating the radio frequencies. So, the ITU has designated a special labels for a particular frequency bands, and they are as follows: extremely low frequency, voice frequency, very low frequency, medium frequency, high frequency, very high frequency, ultra high frequency, super high frequency, and extremely high frequency. For the microwaves, these bands are L, S, C, X, Ku, k and ka, and the frequencies are as follows. Now, what are the different wireless communication technologies, and what frequencies have been allocated to these wireless communication technologies, starting from the AM radio at very low frequencies to IRDA and visible communication at extremely high frequencies. The whole thing has been compiled and has been presented in a very comprehensive form in your e-text. So, you can have just look at the e-text to find that okay, at AM band it works at this and this frequency, the satellite communication takes place at this and this frequency. So, this whole detailed thing I have provided it in e-text. You can just have a look at the e-text. Okay. So, up to now what we have learned? We have learned that the electromagnetic waves are there, these are the parameters of electromagnetic waves. We have learnt about the electromagnetic spectrum and the different bands. So, now we have prepared the groundwork for the communication system. So, now we know that what are waves, we know that what is a signal and how communication takes place. So, just brush up the basic communication entities. The basic communication entities are data, signal and the transmission medium. So, the communication entities, data is an entity that has to be exchanged between the different computers. It can be voice, number, image, etc. The signals, these are the electrical or electromagnetic representation of data. Then the data transmission, it is the communication of data by the transmission or the propagation of electromagnetic signals through either wired or wireless medium. So, these are the three basic entities of communication. Now, the signal, a signal can be analog or digital. What is the difference between analog and digital? In a literal meaning, analog means something continuous. So, if I say that today the temperature is very high, or I say that the temperature is between say 45 degree to 60 degree. Now, there can be infinite number of values between 45 degree and 60 degree. So, this is a continuous thing, right. But if I say that today the temperature is 45.3 degree Celsius, what does that mean? It means that now I have provided a discrete value to the temperature. Okay, generally the temperature is a continuous thing, but when I say that okay, the temperature is so and so, so I have provided a discrete value to the temperature. So, this is digital. I say that the fan is moving very fast. So, this is an analog thing, but if I say that I have set the regulator on number 5, this is digital. You have a very well known example of the analog versus digital on your clock. So, your analog clock represents the arms hands or the minutes hand between the two values. Now, it can be any value between 2. So, suppose I say that the minutes hand is between 2 and 3. So, between 2 and 3 there can be infinite number of values, but the digital clock says that it is 10 hours 23 minutes. So, it is precise. So, this is discrete. So, basic difference between analog and digital is that analog is continuous, whereas digital is discrete. Okay. So, the analog signal is continuous signal, example is the sine wave, whereas the digital signals are discrete. Okay. And how the digital signals are produced? They are produced by sampling analog waveforms into limited set of numbers and recording them. So, this wave is known as a square wave. And what does it represent? The representation or the conversion depends on whether electromagnetic electric pulses are used or the optical modulation is used or the optical signals are used. So, if the electrical pulses are used, a particular voltage will represent a 1 and the other will represent a 0. So, suppose I say that plus 5 volts represent a 1 on the square wave, whereas 0 represents a 0. Okay, or the minus 1 represents a 0. If I talk about optical, I can say that if the light is on, it will represent a 1, or if it is off, it will represent a 0. Now, let us have just a quick comparative study between analog and digital signal. If we look at the bandwidth The bandwidth of analog signal is low, which means that the low data transmission rates are there because the limited channel bandwidth is there, whereas in digital there is high bandwidth that can support high speed data emerging applications, and hence they are useful for video and multimedia application. The network capacity in analog, it is low because suppose if we talk about analog, example is your voice, your fixed landline telephone, right. So, one conversation per telephone channel, whereas in digital the capacity is high. Using the multiplexer, you can always share a communication channel among number of users. The power requirement for analog is high because the signal contains wide range of frequencies and amplitude, whereas in digital it is low because it contains only two discrete signals, the 1 and 0. Transmission. Transmission for analog, it gets subjected or deterioration to noise very easily, whereas the digital signals are quite noise immune. So, they can be transmitted with less deterioration. Flexibility. For the hardware for the analog is not flexible, whereas digital it is flexible. Power requirements for the analog are high, whereas they are very negligible power is required for digital. Cost. The cost for analog signal is low and they are portable. For digital it is high and they are not easily portable. Impedance is low for analog signals and it is high of the order of 100 mega ohms for digital signals. The errors in the analog instruments generally have a scale, and due to which the observational errors might occur. So, if you see a analog thermometer and if you measure the temperature, the observational errors are quite prone to happen, whereas if you use a digital thermometer, you will simply see the value in digital numbers. Right. So, digital instruments are free from observational errors. To summarize with, in this module we have learnt more about the electromagnetic waves. We have seen that the electromagnetic waves are the wave produced when the electrons move in a particular pattern and they are associated with the electric field and the magnetic field, due to which the name electromagnetic waves is there. We learnt about the parameters of the electromagnetic waves. The first parameter we studied was amplitude, that is the strength of the signal, frequency which is rate of change or number of cycles per unit time, wavelength, inverse of frequency, distance between the two peak values, and the phase or the phase shift, that is the shifting of wave towards left or right. Accordingly, the phase angle is positive or negative. Then we saw that according to the frequencies, there is a wide spectrum of electromagnetic waves, and that spectrum is known as electromagnetic spectrum. We have seen that the whole part of the electromagnetic spectrum, which ranges from gamma rays up to the radio waves and is comprised of 7 bands, is not used for communication. Only a part of electromagnetic spectrum is used, and we can broadly classify that part into the radio part and the optical part. The radio part comprises of the radio waves and the microwaves, whereas the optical part comprises of the infrared and the visible wave. We studied about all these 4 bands and how they can be used in communication in detail, and we have seen the applications of these 4 bands. Then we saw the frequencies or the labels or the names which have been given to a different range of frequencies by ITU, starting from extremely low frequency to the super high frequency. So, here the background for the communication was built up, and then we said that the communication can be said to be made up of the 3 entities, namely the data, which can be in the form of the analog data, that is your voice, it can be in the form of a digital data, numbers, it can be a multimedia data and everything. The signals, that is the electronic or the optical representation of the data, it is actually the physical representation of the data, and it is the electromagnetic wave carrying the data, and then the transmission medium, which can be wired or wireless. Then we studied that a signal can be the analog or a digital signal. A analog signal is continuous in nature, whereas a digital signal is discrete, and we have seen a comparative study between the analog signal and the digital signal. I give you just one suggestion that whenever you go through the e-text, some of the things which have not been covered in the this video lectures, because they contained of a very much details and which is not possible to cover in this video lecture. So, I suggest you that you just go through the e-text also, wherein you can find the minute details of like what frequencies are available for what wireless communication and so on. Okay. So, happy reading, keep viewing the mobile computing lectures, and have a nice day.